Hello, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Ebony, and today I'm sharing what I spent in the month of February, how I'm planning for March, and spoiler alert, I severely went over budget in the month of February. Apparently, I was seeing a lot of green, and my budget is seeing a lot of red. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Just for context here, I am a 33-year-old living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I do not have any human children, just two fur babies, and I am not married. And this is how I spent my money in the month of February. I split my expenses between essential and non-essential. So we're going to start with the essential expenses first. So for rent, which includes my water, trash, and my insurance, I planned to spend $1,700, but I actually came in at $1,617. And this is just a reminder here to advocate for yourself and to always check your ledgers when paying your rent. Something triggered for me to look at my ledger. I think it must have been like a trash haul or service fee, and I pulled my entire ledger for the year, and I noticed that I was charged a late fee of $70 when there was actually zero balance on my account because I had already paid rent. And so, of course, I went downstairs to talk to the amazing people in my leasing office, and I was able to get that money credited back. So I think that's why I came in under for the rent for this month, as well as the trash services. I don't believe they came to pick up our trash as many times this month, so the fee was less this month. And then moving into groceries. So I shared in my last video that my goal is to cut back my expenses for food, which includes groceries and dining out. And so for the month of February, I planned to spend $400 on groceries. And as you can see, I went severely over by $278. So a little context for what was going on in the month of February. I went on vacation to Colorado for about 4.5, 5 days. And so I did plan to buy a little bit of groceries while I was there. And then when I came back home, I did not have any food because I ate all of my groceries before I left. And so I had to do a Costco run. And that one Costco run for sure cost me about $178. And then I went to Sprouts as well, and that was like $100. So it kind of got me in place to have groceries for the first few weeks of March. But because the expense occurred in February, I'm counting it in February. So I came in at $678 for groceries. And then moving into transportation, I do not have a car note. My car is fully paid off. So this just includes gas and insurance. And I came in at $125. So I just went 35 cents over, and that's just maybe I need a little bit more gas than usual. And then for pets, I came in at $73.59. So I still have $1.41 remaining in the budget. And then for utilities, I came in at $119.29. So I saved 71 cents on utilities this month. Utilities is definitely an area that I want to keep my eye on because I noticed that my electric bill has been a lot more lately. It's been closer to $90, and I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's because of the weather changing back and forth, so I'm turning my heat on and off, or I'm using more heat because it was the cooler months, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on that for the next few months, especially as we go into these warmer months. And then for health and wellness, I budgeted $50, and I spent $53.80, and one of those things that I know for sure that I paid for was a late cancellation fee for ClassPass. I forgot to cancel one of my classes. And then I went to the doctor this month and I had to get a couple of prescriptions. So I think that kind of pushed me over. And so I went over by $3.80. And then I didn't have any plans for self-improvement, so I didn't spend any money in that category. And then for household items, I budgeted $50 and I only spent $17.14, leaving me with $32.86. So I feel like overall for essentials, I would love to say I did not do horrible. But given that I went over budget, $278 in groceries, we have to take that into consideration for our March budget and just how we can plan a little bit better when it comes to our meals. So with that being said, let's move into our non-essential items. And this is a category that I'm always looking for ways to tweak. So we'll see what we have in place for March. But for February, I budgeted $300 for restaurants. And that's because I knew I was going on vacation and I wanted to have money in the budget for eating out because I figured majority of the time we would be eating out. And that's just how vacations work. And so with that being said, I spent $422.48 on eating out, putting me over budget by $122.48. Okay, so entertainment, which includes hobbies and activities, I increased the budget here because I was going on vacation, and I put in $300 to cover my excursions in Colorado. I knew for sure I was going snowmobiling, so I did plan for that. And so the cost for the month was $310.95. So I just went over about $11 there, so not too bad. And then for subscriptions, I plan $100 a month for subscriptions, but I actually came in at $61.78, so I saved $38.22 for shopping. This is an area where I bled out for sure. So, being that I was going to Colorado, I was going for a special reason. I was going for snowboarding and snowmobiling in particular. And I've never done either, and I've never been in weather that cold. So when I was in Colorado, it was negative 15 degrees, and I've never lived in an area or been to an area where I had those items that I would need on hand. So I did have to go out and purchase all of the warm gear for Colorado. Now, one thing that I probably did not have to spend as much money on were my snow goggles. I vividly remember spending $128 on some snow goggles, and it's safe to say that snowboarding has become a new hobby for me. I will be getting my return on investment on that. So with that being said, I apparently was delusional thinking that I was going to be able to get all of my things for $75. I spent $245.10, sending me $170.10 over budget. I also did not budget for souvenirs for this trip. And with that being said, that's where I got this lovely Breckenridge sweatshirt from, or crew neck that I'm wearing right now, and that was a pretty penny as well. So moving along to another red. Travel. So originally I had budgeted for $335, and that was to cover my Airbnb for Colorado as well as the gas for my Turo for Colorado. And I came in at $821.91, which means I went over budget severely by $486.91. And you're probably wondering, what in the world? How did you go over that much? Me too, because I had a sinking fund. I have a sinking fund for travel. But if you remember in the last video, I am going with one of my friends to St. Martin. And so we have been looking for Airbnbs, and all of our Airbnbs that we had saved were being booked up, and we did not want to be stuck with the leftovers for the time of the year. So we had one Airbnb that we still loved. So we went ahead and booked it, and my portion of that was, I believe, $482, but I did save $50 because of my travel card. They were offering $50 off of Airbnb bookings, so I was able to save $50 there. But yeah, I went severely over for travel, but it's not okay. But I just need to be better about like planning in advance for things that may come up, such as travel expenses. And then for self-care, I did budget $240 because I originally wanted to go get a facial and get my hair blown out, and I did neither of these things. But my facial, I do have a membership for my facial, so that automatically comes out at $89, which means I still have $151 left in the budget. And then for coffee, I did not spend any money for coffee. This budget is particularly for buying coffee out, but I'm considering if I should recalculate this to include buying coffee beans for my machine. Right now, I just allocate coffee under my groceries budget, but I'm wondering if I should tweak that a little bit just to kind of better track that. For beauty, I planned to spend $50, but I actually spent $69.15, meaning that I went over by $19.15. I bought a couple of things. I bought see some body wash or some bubble bath. I think I bought some stuff for my nails. I do my nails at home. Um, yeah, I bought a couple of masks that I needed. So yeah, I know exactly where that money went. I can easily speak to it. For gifts, I planned $50, but I actually did not buy any gifts for anyone for the month of February. And then for miscellaneous, this is where it gets a little tricky. So for miscellaneous, I budgeted $50 and I spent $95.60, sending me over budget by $45.60. And so, with that being said, I'm not sure where all of the money went, but I can account for about $80, which is actually pretty good. I can account for $80, and that's because when we went to Colorado the very first night, we all decided to go to the store and buy drinks and things to make cocktails and mocktails and things like that. And so for the entire weekend that we would be there, so I spent $80 buying spirits and mixers and things like that. For the other things under miscellaneous, I cannot speak to them off the top of my head, which means I need to go back through and look at my transactions for the month so I can have a better idea of that. With that being said, that brings my total for my expenses to $4,801.04, which means I am over by $761.04. And so, moving into our savings and investments, I did not make any investments this month. I think it's because I was just so focused on getting everything in order for my trips, but I did make sure for my March planning to include that. So now that we've reviewed everything for our February and how we spent our money, I did do a little bit of reflecting when I was working on my dashboard. And so I found some areas that I will be saving money in either next month or for the remainder of the year, or at least for the foreseeable future. So one of those things is with my subscriptions. I decided to cancel my Netflix subscription as well as my Epidemic Sound subscription. And those were $20 each per month. So that saves me about $40 a month. I decided to cancel those subscriptions because I wasn't utilizing them. And then in regards to Netflix, I just have so many other streaming services that I either share with friends or I get through my credit cards that I just felt like. And plus on top of that, I just felt like Netflix wasn't really offering anything for me right now. The things that I was watching on there is available on other streaming platforms that I have. So I decided to go ahead and cancel it until like something comes out that I want to see and it's only on Netflix. And then the next thing I decided to look into for saving money was my Wi-Fi bill. So I have Wi-Fi through AT&T and I was paying $65 a month. And I thought I was supposed to get a discount for my Wi-Fi because I do also have AT&T wireless. And so I decided to give them a call and I got an amazing representative who lowered my Wi-Fi from $65 a month for the same package down to $37 a month. And if I want to save an additional $10, I can connect my checking account for auto pay and that'll bring me down to essentially $27 a month. But another savings on top of that is that my current employer does offer us a work from home stipend every month of $40. And so now my Wi-Fi is essentially free. And so the last thing that I am looking to save money in, I think I shared in my last video that I had received a renewal offer for my apartment and that my rent was expected to go up $30, or my base rent was expected to go up $30. And so I decided to give my leasing office a call, or actually they called me and asked if I was still interested or if I was interested in renewing. And I said yes. They went over the terms for me. And then I asked if there was any wiggle room with rent. And I'm new to this idea of negotiating rent. I had no idea that was an option. And we're going to take the blessing here. Shout out to God, because she came back and said we won't do an increase at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at budgeting for March. One thing I like to do is to look at how much I planned to spend for the previous month, as well as how much I actually spent for the previous month when doing my planning for the new month. So for rent, I decided to keep the budget the same at $1,700, just because I feel like it's a good round, even number for fees that kind of tend to vary, which is like the trash and the water and then like the tack on add-on fees that they tend to add on. So I'm leaving that at $1,700. For groceries, we are revisiting the $400. I would like to continue trying to decrease this number, but right now we're looking at $400 for groceries. For transportation, I am going to keep that at $125 for the month of March. But one thing I do believe I have coming up, or I will need to look into completing, will be getting new tires for my car. For pets, I'm keeping that at $75. For utilities, I'm also keeping that at $120. And then for health and wellness, I decided to increase the budget. So for a couple of reasons, I usually have $50 as the budget for health and wellness. But because I had to get some prescriptions, I had a doctor's visit. So I'm expecting a couple of doctor's bills to come in. And because of my doctor's visits, I'm looking to add more into my routine for body recovery and maintenance. So that's things like cryotherapy, infrared sauna, a stretch lab, massage therapy, things like that. I'm not saying that I'm doing all of these things in 1 month or that 125 is enough to cover all of these things. It's just those were the deciding factors in me deciding that 125 was going to be the number for March. And then for self-improvement, I don't anticipate taking any new classes or joining any new programs or things like that. So I'm leaving the budget at $0. And then for household, I'm leaving it at $50. So for March, for my essential spends, we're looking at $2,595. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our non-essentials for the month of March. Right now, we're looking at a total of $1,760. So let's go ahead and break it down by category. So for restaurants, I have $125 planned, and I don't anticipate spending much of this. It's more so that I have this money available in case my friends invite me out. I did have quite a few plans for the month of March, or at least talks of plans with friends for the month of March. So I wanted to have that money available in case I needed it. But my goal for the month of March is to complete eating all of my meals at home. So with that being said, I also did my entertainment budget, which for me includes hobbies and activities, and I added $100, but I'm thinking about dialing it back. Something about the month of March is just screaming sacrificing, or probably just like, what do you even mean? So I told you that I have a trip coming up for St. Martin in May. So I'm still working through planning and budgeting for that. But I also got invited to one of the World Cup games in Miami in June. So I need to prepare, budget, and plan for that. But also I got invited to a birthday party for someone's kid in March. And that's in Asheville. And then I also got invited to go to Savannah in April. So a lot of sacrificing was going on. And now that I've listed all of those things out loud, you know what? Maybe we should just go ahead and cut the hobbies and activities back to $75. I know it's only a $25 difference, but honestly, any place where I can cut money, it would be great. Actually, you know what? With that being said, let's go ahead and dial back the restaurant to $100. It sounds like if I'm going to be eating out, I'll be eating takeout. Subscriptions. So I put that at $80. Honestly, I think I may come under for subscriptions now that we no longer have Netflix and Epidemic Sound coming out, which was a $40 difference, but we shall see. Shopping. So I added cycling to my workout routine. I say that and I've only been to one class, but I really enjoyed it. And I know that with cycling studios, they tend to charge you for shoe rental. In the particular studio that I went to, I think it's $2 per rental. And obviously I got my first one free, but if I plan on going 2-3 times a week, by the time I paid that over the course of a month, I could have just bought a pair of shoes secondhand. I'm going to see if I can get some for $40. So we'll put $40 in the budget. I'm hoping I can kind of bargain with someone. So for travel, I added $1,095. And now that I'm saying this number out loud, in comparison to the list of upcoming travels that I just shared with you all. I am not sure if that's going to be enough. We may have to revisit this number mid-month. That's just your friendly reminder that you are not confined to the numbers that you set at the beginning of the month. So this number is to cover like flights, any excursions that I book, but also annual fees. I do have the American Express Platinum card. And so the annual fee is due to come out in March, but I'm hoping to reach out and either get my fee waived or get a retention offer for it. And so then up next, we have self-care and maintenance. And so I shared already that my budget includes a monthly facial for $89. And I would really like to get my hair done this month before it gets too warm. And so I budgeted $240 for a haircut and a facial, and plus gratuities as well. I have $50 in the budget for my beauty products. And then for gifts, I don't have any birthdays coming up in March, so I don't have anything in the budget for gifts. And then I have my $50 for my miscellaneous. All right, so now that we've discussed all of the expenses, let's get into our savings and investment goals for the month. Because I know in February I did not contribute to either one of these. And just a reminder to myself and to share with you all, I did set a goal for 2026, or two goals actually. I want to invest $15,000 and I want to save $10,000. So with that being said, for savings for the month of March, we are targeting $700. So that'll be $100 towards my home fund, $400 towards my travel sinking fund, and then I'm going to do $200 towards my emergency fund. So that's all for a total of $700. I haven't quite decided how I want to break down the $10,000 saving goal. If I want to do 5 and 5 or whatever the split will be. I just know right now I just need to get the money into the accounts. And then moving into investments. So one thing that I like to do every single year, like it's kind of like now that I am educated on the topic and I know all about it and its perks, it's maxing out my Roth IRA. And the maximum amount for 2025 is $7,000. It said you have until April 15th or tax day to contribute for the 2025 budget or 2025 contribution limit. And so I'm finishing that up. So I have to contribute another $300. Yeah, $299, but $300. I'm just going to round it. $300 for my 2025 budget or 2025 limits to meet that goal. And then I'm also going to start contributing to my 2026 budget, which has a maximum of $7,500. So it's a $500 increase. And with that being said, I'll be contributing $300 to get that started for the month of March. I may do more, but we'll see as we kind of like play around with these numbers mid-month. Yeah, so that brings me to a total of $1,300 between savings and investing. So I'm really happy about that number. I'm very optimistic. I'm a little anxious and I'm a little nervous and I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm a lot of things because I just have so many freaking plans when it comes to travel, and I'm very excited about them and I'm very grateful for the opportunities because I know for 2025, when I was doing my reflecting, I kind of just felt like I didn't do much but move to a new city, and I just wanted to like really get back into traveling because I did not travel in 2025. So that was my goal for 2026. But I did not think that I would be doing this much traveling in the first half of the year. But, we thank God for overflow, right? So we have completed our budget for the month of March as well as reviewed our spending in February. So I hope this video served as a nice reminder that you're never bound to what you set as your budget at the beginning of a month. You can always tweak it based on what's going on in your life, and that it's also never too late to start a budget. Down in the comments below, let me know what your money goal is for the month of March, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.